So I've been messing around in 3D lately. I've made some environments and small prototypes, but I haven't actually made a complete 3D game before. My friend Escape Point was hosting a week-long game jam, and I thought this would be the perfect opportunity to actually complete a project using Godot's 3D game engine. A game jam is a community-driven event in which a complete game needs to be created from scratch during the duration of the jam, and most jams have a theme that provides a creative challenge. The time constraint adds pressure, and the hard deadline often pushes people to finish projects they wouldn't otherwise finish. Game jams sometimes have competition and prizes behind them, but it's also just a good way to get practice in and make friends with other people. On Monday, the theme of the game jam was revealed to be heat, and the clock started ticking. My first thought was to have a character that needed to stay warm to survive, and that there would be a campfire that needed to be constantly fed firewood to prevent it from going out. So that's what I set out to create. I first created some 3D models for a forest setting, made a campfire using a particle system, implemented a shader that would distort the vertices of the tree mesh to look like wind, and then created a dark, cold-looking environment to set the scene. I gave the player a heat value that increases when close to the fire but decreases when far away. If the player's heat drops to 0, they freeze to death and it's game over. The fire also slowly diminishes over time, so the player has to leave the fire at times to go looking for logs in the surrounding area. At this stage in development, the player needs to manage two things: keeping themselves warm and keeping the fire lit. What if we threw enemies into the mix? I added ghosts that would silently approach the player and then attack once they got close. Why ghosts? That's because I didn't want to write a pathfinding algorithm for enemy movement around the trees. Instead, they just float on through. For defense against ghosts, I added a gun. Does it make sense that the ghosts can move through trees but not bullets? Not really, but I think it's pretty fun. The mechanics were in place, but the game needs a larger objective with some sort of ending. So, in the beginning of the game, a character leaves a note for you explaining that you need to buy yourself some time before they can come and rescue you. After a few minutes of fighting to stay warm and keeping ghosts off your back, a truck pulls up in which you can escape and beat the game. During this jam, I learned that there's a lot of tricks one can use to reduce the complexity of a project. A ghost is a convenient enemy because it doesn't require any walking animations or pathfinding algorithms. A dark environment can hide what would be a pretty uninteresting environment in full lighting. And a first-person perspective allows you to avoid making a character model entirely. These tricks allowed me to dedicate more time to improving the mechanics of the game and fixing bugs. Making games is all about using creative problem-solving skills like this to achieve the vision that one wants to realize, and honestly, it's more accessible than ever before. All the programs I used to make the game are both free and open source. I used Godot to write the game, Blender to make the models, and Audacity for tweaking sound effects. If you want an extra push to finish your projects, join a jam, find some like-minded people, or just get out there. If you'd like another place to show off your projects, join my Discord and let's talk about them. Of course, the itch page for the game is in the description if anyone wants to play it for themselves. Stay creative, and I'll see you next time.